Welcome back to Total Recapped here. Today, we will be going through the events of the 2006 comedy movie Click, directed by Frank Karachi. Now warning, this video contains spoilers, so watch at your own risk. Now let's get right into the movie. Michael Newman is an architect. He and his wife Donna have two children, Ben and Samantha. Michael's overbearing boss, John Ammer, makes him overwork as a result of Michael often chooses his work over his family. Despite all this, Michael extracts joys out of the little time he gets to spend with his children, like when he watches Dragon Tales with them before leaving for work. Apart from Ben and Samantha, Michael has another child in his life named Kevin O'Doyle. Kevin is Michael's little neighbor, who he doesn't see eye to eye with. They always try to outdo each other, whether through materialistic possessions or war of words. One day at work, John offers Michael a great opportunity to design a luxury hotel for a Japanese billionaire and promises him a promotion if he is able to secure the contract. Michael is elated by the proposition, but he is forced to cancel his plans to go camping with his family. Michael also misses Ben's swimming race. He reaches the school at the end of the race. Michael is greeted by Ben's swimming teacher Bill, with whom Ben seems to have a good rapport. A jealous father Michael makes fun of Bill's red speedo. During the 4th of July fireworks, Michael spends all of his time on the phone with his boss, which begins to concern Michael's mother Trudy. Trudy comments that Michael will die early if he continues to overwork and eat junk food. Little Samantha picks up her grandmother's comment and grows worried about her father. Michael assures her that he will live for 200 years, just so she could spend more time with him. As Michael again gets occupied on the phone, his father Ted entertains the kids with his quarter trick. Fascinated by the trick, Ben and Samantha ask their grandfather how he managed to bend the coin, but Ted responds that a magician never reveals his secrets. Ted further adds that even the big boy Michael hasn't been able to decode Ted's secret. Back at home, Michael tells Donna to postpone the camping trip and an argument follows. Michael eventually calms Donna down and proceeds to watch an Asian architecture documentary for the project. However, Michael accidentally grabs Ben's helicopter's remote control, mistaking it for a TV remote, and hurts himself. Sick of always mixing up the remotes, Michael leaves for the supermarket to buy a universal remote control. Michael visits the retail store, Bed Bath & Beyond. He looks throughout the store for a remote, but without success. Michael resigns and collapses on a bed. When he turns around, he notices a section of the store called Beyond. When he ventures to inspect, he is greeted by a man named Morty. Michael explains his situation to Morty, who then escorts Michael to a large warehouse called Way Beyond and offers a peculiar remote to Michael for free. Morty tells Michael that the remote will program itself when he points and clicks the buttons. When Michael inquires why he is being given the remote for free, Morty responds that good guys need a break every once in a while. Before leaving, Michael is told that the item is non-refundable. After returning home from the store, Michael watches the documentary and begins working on the project design. But soon, Michael is disturbed by his dog Sundance. The dog wants to go out to poop and continues to bark. Frustrated, Michael points the remote at the dog and repeatedly presses the volume down button, berating the dog for not being able to keep its volume down for 5 minutes. To Michael's astonishment, the dog goes mute, but he dismisses it as a hallucination and takes the dog outside. However, the dog takes really long to select a pooping spot. Frustrated, Michael again points the remote at the dog and presses fast forward. The remote fast tracks the dog, which then swiftly finds a pooping spot, poops, pees, goes back inside, humps the duck, and falls asleep. Michael is astonished and finally believes the power of the universal remote. He realizes that the remote can be used to control reality, much like a television. The next day, Michael learns that he can also use the remote to experience any part of his past life. He is overjoyed to see his little self play football with his friends at Lake Winnipesaukee. Morty also gives Michael his phone number in case he has any questions about the remote. Michael uses the remote to fast forward through family dinner, arguments, and sex. A clarification, Michael didn't want to zoom through sex, but he had to when Donna asked for a pre-sex massage. After fast forwarding the sex, Michael is puzzled to learn that he climaxed very quickly and couldn't sexually pleasure Donna as he normally used to do. He also learns that he doesn't remember the conversations he had or commitments he made during the dinner. Michael calls Morty, who then tells him that during these times his body is on autopilot, going through his motions of everyday life while his mind skips ahead. Every person every now and then operates on autopilot mode, but the remote offers Michael the liberty to choose when. Michael uses the remote to fast forward through unpleasant things such as sickness, cold showers, and traffic. He presents the design he made on autopilot mode to the Japanese businessman, Mr. Watsuhita. The meeting seemed to be going great when Mr. Watsuhita excuses himself to have a private conversation with his team, after Michael's boss, John, unintentionally makes fun of Japan's iconic baseball players, mistaking their names for Asian dishes. Afraid of losing the project, Michael overhears Watsuhita's conversation. He uses the remote to translate their conversation into English and turn up their volume. It reveals the Japanese team disliked Michael's design, commenting that it must have been made after watching a bad documentary on Asian architecture. They wanted more rooms to maximize their profits, not a stupid river in the lobby. Mr. Watsuhita then tells his team to swiftly wrap up the meeting so they could have jello shots at America's greatest cultural achievement, TGI Fridays. When Michael again joins Mr. Watsuhita and his team, he uses the things he overheard to win over the businessman. He rips his crappy design and offers to make a new design to incorporate more rooms to maximize profits. Mr. Watsuhita grants the contract to Michael's company, and a super elated Michael buys presents for his wife and children. Ben and Samantha are overjoyed to get new bicycles, while Donna gets an expensive designer purse. When Donna inquires about the reason for Michael's joy, he reveals that John has promoted him to a partnership. Donna jumps in excitement. However, the next day, Michael learns that he hasn't been promoted. He won't be promoted until he prepares the construction plan for the hotel and gets Mr. Watsuhita's commitment, which will take Michael months. Frustrated, Michael uses the remote to pause John and fart in his mouth. Michael plans to use the remote to fast forward to the time that he finishes the Watsuhita project. He believes he is only going to miss some 30 arguments with Donna and one haircut during those couple of months. When Michael seeks Morty's advice, Morty reminds Michael about the leprechaun from a cereal advertisement. The leprechaun always chases a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, but when he finally gets there, he realizes it is just cornflakes. Michael doesn't really understand the metaphor, but nevertheless suspends his plans to use the remote and returns home. Michael is still frustrated over his promotion and takes it out on Ben and Samantha. He makes them cry when he degrades their pizza and pickles-inspired hotel designs. He calls Ben Pizza Boy and tells him that his life is not about being creative. It is about kissing ass, playing it safe, making your boss a lot of money, and hope one day you might throw you a little bone. Little Ben replies, "Yes, sir," and leaves. Michael then has an argument with Donna. Michael later realizes his mistake. Angry that he upset his family, Michael uses the remote to skip ahead to his promotion and finds himself at his promotion party. He learns that it took John a whole year to promote him. During this time, Donna and Michael's relation started to get strained and they entered marriage counseling. Ben and Samantha have matured and no longer watch the Dragon Tales cartoon. Michael's dog Sundance too has passed away. Michael breaks down and regrets not letting his late dog hump his leg. Donna is confused but consoles Michael. Michael promises Donna that he will change and become a better man for her. He asks her not to leave him. Michael and Donna make out, but the remote automatically fast forwards to the end of the sexual intercourse. Michael again finds a sexually unsatisfied Donna lying next to him in bed. He is puzzled by the remote automatically skipping time without him pressing any buttons. Morty reveals that the remote is using its memory to execute Michael's preferences. Michael fast forwarded through a whole year, and that accounts for a lot of sex skipped. Everything Michael has fast forwarded, the remote is going to do on its own from now on, such as showering, traffic, arguing, sickness. Michael regrets having ever used the remote and returns the remote to Morty, but it automatically reappears in Michael's hand. Michael makes several attempts to discard and destroy the remote, but it reappears each time. The next day, Michael goes to the office without showering in a bathrobe on a bicycle to avoid the time being automatically fast forwarded. At work, John tells Michael about his plans to retire and travel to Morocco. John's retirement would make Michael the new head of the international division at the firm. When Michael is surprised by his promotion to such a high post, John replies that every account Michael has worked on is turned into gold. John also comments that he wouldn't be surprised if one day Michael ended up being their company's CEO. This causes the remote to instantly fast forward 10 years into the future, where Michael is wealthy but morbidly obese. Michael returns home to find that Ben and Samantha are grown-up moody teenagers. Ben too has become an obese guy much like Michael, while Samantha has started dating boys. He also learns that Donna has divorced him and is dating Ben's swimming teacher, Bill. Unable to see Donna with Bill, Michael attacks him. An argument follows and the family dog jumps on Michael, causing him to knock his head on the wall. Michael then gains consciousness in a hospital 6 years later. Michael hadn't been healthy a single day since he had the head injury. Donna reveals that after the dog knocked him unconscious, a CAT scan revealed cancer in his body, and Michael went under cancer treatment for years. After beating cancer, he had a heart attack. However, Michael is no longer fat as a result of having undergone liposuction to save his life. Michael later meets a full-grown Ben at the firm. Ben has lost all of his weight working out with Donna's husband, Bill. Michael offers to take Ben, Samantha, and their grandparents out for an ice cream, but Ben reveals that Grandpa Ted has already died. Michael breaks into tears and visits Ted's grave. Michael uses the remote to re-experience the time when he last saw his dad. Michael sees that Ted dropped by his office and offered to take Ben out and him for dinner, but a busy Michael rebuffed the offer without even looking at the old man. Ted continued to insist and offered to show Michael his favorite childhood quarter trick. An agitated Michael then yelled at his father, revealing he has always known how Ted does the trick. A hurt Ted then apologized and left with tears in his eyes. Michael gets filled with shame and guilt. Morty then appears and apologizes for taking his father away, admitting that he is the angel of death. Michael gets angry by the revelation and attacks Morty. However, Morty disappears into thin air and reappears behind him. Frightened, Michael asks the remote to take him to a good place, whereupon the remote fast-forwards him several more years in the future to Ben's wedding. At the wedding, Michael is elated to see his mother and gives her a long kiss. He also meets an all-grown-up Samantha. Michael hears her calling Bill Dad and suffers from a heart attack, unable to bear the pain of being replaced even as a father. He wakes in the hospital that night with Ben and Samantha by his side. Michael learns that Ben is skipping his honeymoon because of a business deal before Ben and Samantha are escorted out by the nurse. Michael, fearing Ben might make the same mistakes he made, gathers the last of his strength to follow them out of the hospital. He eventually collapses on the ground with his family around him. He tells Ben to always put family first and apologizes to his daughter for not making it to 200. Michael then tells Donna that he will always love her forever and ever, and passes away. Michael reawakens in Bed Bath & Beyond. Michael is elated to learn that he was dreaming all this while. He is overjoyed to see his crappy, mediocre, middle-class car. He embraces his family and promises to spend more time with them. He then finds the remote on the counter along with a note from Morty, who reveals he has given him a second chance, because good guys need a break. Michael throws the remote in the trash, and much to his delight, it does not reappear. Michael finally understands Morty's advice. It is the journey and the moments we spend with our loved ones during that journey that makes our life happy and colorful, not the destination. The movie ends. And that was my recap of the movie. Hope you enjoyed it. Now comment on what your favorite part was, and make sure to hit the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. Until next time, this has been Total Recap.